Next item on the agenda, public session.
January 28, 2013, Craig Smith sends a letter to IDOT on behalf of Chris Patrick. IDOT ignored that letter. February 11th, Craig Smith sends a second letter to IDOT. That letter was ignored. February 19th, Craig Smith sends a third letter to IDOT. The 11th and the 19th, you should have copies in front of you. In this letter, Craig Smith claims IDOT statements have created a riotous situation in Edgar County. Most would argue that the riotous situation Mr. Smith refers to was in fact a result of Mr. Patrick's actions, not those of IDOT. More disturbing in this letter is Mr. Smith makes demands of IDOT, which he insists they rescind their prior statements. Who is Craig Smith to demand anything from IDOT? To the best of my knowledge, this letter has also been ignored. I have asked for subsequent letters sent or responded to since the February 19th letter. Yesterday at 10:16, I received this comment back from IDOT in response as to why the letters from the 11th and the 19th were not provided in my original FOIA. Mr. Allen, I have your FOIA request and once again apologize that you were not earlier furnished the letters in question. Apparently, an email you sent on April 2nd to Scott Lackey, Chris Greason, etc. prompted a review of your previous response, and it was then discovered the letters had inadvertently been omitted. Mr. Patrick, you claim 4 letters have been sent, and we now have 3 of those. We will wait to see if there is in fact a 4th. I had requested to claim 4 letters from Mr. Patrick, and he informed me via Mr. Griffin in a FOIA request he does not have copies. Mr. Patrick, would it have been that difficult to ask Craig Smith to provide the copies so that the rest of this board, as well as the public, was informed as to what was going on? No, you didn't have copies, but your attorney did. More word games. March 6, 2012, 2013, 36 days ago, Mr. Lawson sent an email to IDOT. Assuming the situation remains unchanged, will the district honor a resolution appointing the vice chair's signature authority to sign the LA and Fed agreements next month? IDOT's response the very next day. I have spoken with Joe Crow, Deputy Director of Highways, Region 3 engineer. At this time, the district has put a hold on approving all agreements and plans that include federal or state funds until the county state's attorney has met with the department's office of chief counsel to address the conflict of interest. So here we are today. We're going to move on a resolution that has already been offered as a solution and by all indications was denied. I'd like every board member to think long and hard about voting in support of a resolution to authorize the vice chairman to sign agreements for the chairman. Such an action is an admission that you recognize that there is in fact a conflict. Otherwise, there's no reason to take this action. Voting to allow such an action is allowing Mr. Patrick to ignore the very duties he was elected to perform, as well as appointed by this very board to perform. Members of this board, excluding Mr. Zuber and Mr. Patrick, Mr. Zuber, I believe you were gone during this particular meeting, you all have verbally acknowledged that a conflict exists, and most have stated Mr. Patrick should resign. I ask that you men think long and hard before passing that resolution, which would clearly facilitate Mr. Patrick's conflict and tells the people that to put you in office, you condone it. As far as the second resolution you wish to pass, I would encourage you read 605 ILCS 5/-205. It outlines that the county superintendent of highways is under the supervision of the county board. This resolution you're contemplating would restrict all county board members except the chairman of the board or chairman of the road and bridge and motor fuel committees from performing their statutorily given duties. In other words, it takes the authority of elected public officials, the authority that is given to them by statute. Who gave you the authority to take an elected official's rights away? Mr. Patrick, allowing someone else to perform your duly elected duties, I believe, is official misconduct. That is defined as intentionally failing to perform any mandatory duty as required by law. You clearly are placing your personal business interest ahead of your elected duties, and the mere fact these resolutions are even being considered supports that fact. You've put money in your own pocket at the airport while in charge. You've opened a bank account you can keep secret from the county and did so with county tax ID number. You've refused to provide the information on the CD which you took action to place your name on, as well as the name of Jimmy Wells. Your actions make it clear you cannot be trusted. No other member of this board had to sign any recusal letter to have a resolution created to get around a conflict of interest. So why would you support such an action for Chris Patrick? Do you not see the message you are sending to the people of this county if you support these resolutions? I ask that the men of integrity send the message to Mr. Patrick as well as the rest of the county that we are done with lawlessness and twisting of our laws. Please do not support these resolutions.
Thank you. Anybody else? If not, we will move forward. Next item on the agenda. Number 5, the board approval of vice chair to execute all IDOT required documents and so on. Mr. Griffin, this is the resolution for that.
Whereas the Illinois Department of Transportation, IDOT, controls distribution of funds for local projects involving airport, road and bridge maintenance, and construction improvements, and whereas IDOT has expressed concern over the potential for a conflict of interest involving duly elected County Board member Chris Patrick, appointed by the County Board as chairman, who is the sole concrete supplier in Edgar County, and whereas IDOT, the Edgar County Board, and the chairman of the County Board seek to protect taxpayer funds and to avoid the potential for a conflict of interest, and whereas the Edgar County Board, IDOT, and the chairman of the County Board agree that the chairman will not make any decisions nor participate in any vote nor participate in the award or execution relative to any airport, highway, or local road construction or maintenance contract that is or will be financed in whole or in part with state or federal funds. Therefore, be it hereby resolved that the Edgar County Board authorizes its vice chairman to execute any and all necessary documents on behalf of the Edgar County Board relative to local road, bridge, and airport maintenance and construction contracts for the duration of Mr. Patrick's tenure as chairman of the Edgar County Board.
Any questions?
Yes. Why can't you sign the contracts? And why are we having the agenda signed?
This is what the IDOT wants.
But
They requested.
why did they request? Normally the chairman signs all these contracts.
Under the circumstances what IDOT wants.
And I have a lot of things I'd like to ask with Mark, but for some reason he's not here. One would be if this resolution passes, will this guarantee the road projects will be funded by the city? I think that he said at the last meeting that no matter what we decide, the state controls the purse strings. Therefore, I mean, that may not get funding anyway. Would that true of the statement we made? If the resolution doesn't pass, does this mean that none of our road projects will be funded?
The email that you were given,
Yeah, I read the one that said it's on
So-
4/19 is when we're supposed to make a definite decision from Springfield on the refusal letter that you're supposed to send back again.
yes.
So basically, if we pass this resolution for Ben signed, and you haven't filled out the refusal letter, then that just mean everything you're doing today doesn't count?
The recusal letter will be sent,
Yeah,
yes.
so why are we doing this now?
Because
if
it's
the
what
refusal
IDOT
letter has
asked
to be
us to
sent
do.
first?
It's what IDOT asked us to do.
Is that right? I thought the state's attorney said that it might be a good gesture of us to pass this. I wasn't sure, based on what you told us, Carl, that that's what he said. Is that what the state's attorney said?
In a roundabout way, yeah, that's what
That's
he
why,
said.
yeah, everything.
This is what I think, I wish he was here.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
do
that's
too.
what I'm saying.
I don't know what we're
Why couldn't we have a
having.
meeting when he could be here?
He was aware that we were having a meeting at one.
He's at
He's out.
seminar. He's out of town.
Yeah, but why couldn't we have a meeting next Monday or something when he could be here, where we'd ask the questions?
Because we don't have time to have it on the agenda for the meeting Wednesday.
This is what him and I assume the general counsel who he's talked to, they've been emailing back and forth, this is what they come up with to resolve this situation.
But does it resolve the
As of yesterday, it does resolve the situation, yes.
And it sounds to me like, and then Chris will send this recusal letter, they just got that, today or? Yesterday. And that will be hopefully the final thing to make it all work.
Carl, did you not tell me that even if we do that, there's no guarantee that they're going to release the funds? That's what you said.
There was a little question. That's what he said. He said possibly.
Who said it?
That's what Mark said.
But
He said 3 of the 4 things had been resolved, and I assumed what he was talking about, the recusal letter was the last thing that needed to be sent to finalize it. We didn't go into detail on it, but that's what he told me. Yes.
So basically, this is a quick fix for something that may go on around another year and a half. Possibly.
It can't go on.
That's what I'm saying.
If this
Other things
doesn't work, then the projects that he's got for later this month will stop.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
And then,
But really, the only way this could be resolved for Chris to step down.
no, not from what we want.
That's the way I look at it.
That's not the indication I get from the state's attorney that what he has talked with the people in Springfield.
Are there any other discussion, comments, questions?
Mr. Chairman, I have a problem with what we're trying to do here. I'm looking at the long haul route versus the short haul. The citizens are viewing our actions right now rather carefully. And I think they're not impressed, at the very least. We've got issues that we have to deal with over the next couple of years, jail, a budget deficit that we inherited, and we're going to need the cooperation and understanding of the citizens of this county. And we seem to be going a long way around the barn and putting individuals instead of in front of the people. And I have a problem with what we're doing in general. I see it that rather simply, but I'm pretty simple. The person, if they have a conflict, the best way to deal with it is either not to do the conflict or remove themselves from the issue of the conflict. The taxpayers are sitting there and our citizens. They are, no matter what, got a 50-50 chance right now, or less, or more, depending on how you look at it, of losing some economic support for needed infrastructure, for needed projects and jobs. And either way it goes, probably, you're going to sell concrete. You're not taking a chance either way. And I just think we're in a position that we shouldn't be in. And I wish we had other alternatives.
Any other comments?
Am I reading this last email correctly from whoever that was, Lance T. Jones's Deputy Chief Counsel? If I read that, it says everything is fine except the recusal letter, my April 18th email provided what the department would find acceptable for a recusal letter. Provide a new recusal letter on the county board letterhead stating, in my capacity as Edgar County Board Chairman, I recuse myself from making any decisions, participating in any vote, or participating in the award or execution relative to any airport, highway, or local road construction or maintenance contract that is or will be financed in whole or in part with state or federal funds. And that's the same thing as exactly says, or am I reading this incorrectly, in this resolution it says the fourth whereas, so to speak. Whereas the Edgar County Board IDOT Chairman agreed the Chairman will not make any decisions nor participate in any vote nor participate in the award or execution relative to any airport, highway, or local road construction or maintenance contracts that is financed whole or in part with state or federal funds. Am I missing any words in that, or is that the same thing?
It's
I
the
mean-
same thing. They did receive a second recusal letter that they denied. They want to go back to the first, and they want it on county letterhead. Those are the differences.
I guess I was just looking, because I understand their concerns, but if I'm looking at this correctly, we are also doing as far as what, if I understand that's kind of what you're saying, Carl, I might be way off base from everybody here. It looks like we're trying to do what they said is going to be acceptable. Because there are different times, in most, I would think, positions, and maybe even in the General Assembly, I'm not sure that the Speaker of the House or even the President of the Senate would agree or really would feel comfortable voting on everything, nor do they. But all our county board chairman or vice chairman really in essence is saying is that the county board agreed to extend the contract. Even like the Speaker of the House, even Mike Madigan, he won't vote on certain things and he will not sign his name to certain things. But what he'll do is have whoever the assistant is or the vice president of the Senate, they sign those things, if I remember correctly. So that's what I was asking Augie this the other day, if we already have someplace in policy that, as I talk to different people around, a lot, or I shouldn't say a lot, I know a couple of municipalities, counties, et cetera, they already have it on file. If the chairman or the president or whatever they're going to call themselves don't want to sign something or don't feel like they could or should, especially as a non-voting part, that automatically goes to their vice president, the vice chairman, or whatever. But obviously, you're not sure that we actually have that in policy, and it's not.
I don't,
Because there's a side of me that says, I don't know, make sure.
I don't know whether we can do it according to the rules,
Well-
of the law that we operate under.
Well, see, I'm wondering if we don't already have it in place, Jeff. I mean, it may be the opposite side of what you're saying, just by the fact that we have a vice chairman. I mean, this is when I think, this is set up so that we,
This is what I thought, my understanding, this is what IDOT wanted.
yeah, that's right
Here, this is what they
Right.
want, and this is what the state's attorney and IDOT
I
legal
understand.
has
Yeah.
worked out.
And that's what I want to make sure.
And that's what we've been waiting on.
But my understanding, at 12 o'clock yesterday, when you come down from talking to the state's attorney, he said this still didn't guarantee we were
Right.
going to get the funds.
Look at the date, look at the time on that email.
Because he said 3 of the 4 issues had been resolved. He didn't say which one
Yeah,
was.
that's
it, and I-
5:39 now,
What's today's date?
the 12.
12.
So this was
came in after
yesterday,
the-
late afternoon.
Yeah.
So
that was-
this is
It precedes that.
Right.
This is supersedes
Well,
what
the
you
second part of
heard.
this says there's supposed to be a final federal joint agreement that's due in Springfield on 4/19. It's to be executed local side 4/17 after the county board's approval of the proposed resolution authorizing execution by the board's vice chairman. So
That
actually.
has to do with the road agreement, correct?
Yeah. So in other words, it's still a few days away.
Is there a conflict of interest? It doesn't say anything about conflict of interest, it said potential for conflict of interest. And I think some people have lost sight of that. This is just a potential, this doesn't mean we've got one yet.
What is this? That's the road agreement we're going to sign next week, isn't it?
On the lower T, is that the federal joint agreement?
I assume that's what you're talking about. I don't know what you're looking at.
Pardon?
I'm not sure what you're looking at, Carl. That's the hottest one, you know. That's the one that's due in Springfield. The deadline's the 19th.
You gonna take it with?
Yeah, I was, Mike, thank you.
Yeah, they have to be talking about the Lower Tail Road federal agreement. Federal state agreement.
Any other questions or comments? If not, is there a motion to approve this?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mike, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ben. Roll call.
Which one is it?
The first one, the one he read, number, what's the item on the agenda?
So where's the vice
The
chair?
first one. Number 5 on the agenda. Roll call.
Janice?
Yes.
Voigt?
No.
Zuber?
Yes.
Brunner?
No.
Farnum?
Yes.
Helston?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 6 on the agenda, second resolution.
Okay, the next one, the second one reads, whereas the Illinois Department of Transportation, IDOT, controls distribution of funds for local projects involving road, bridge, and airport maintenance and construction improvements, and whereas IDOT has expressed concern over the potential for a conflict of interest involving duly elected County Board member Chris Patrick, appointed by the County Board as chairman, who is the sole concrete supplier in Edgar County, and whereas IDOT, the Edgar County Board, and the chairman of the County Board seek to protect taxpayer funds and to avoid the potential for a conflict of interest, and whereas the Edgar County engineer is responsible for the oversight of local road and bridge maintenance and construction improvements, and whereas the Edgar County engineer is responsible for the oversight of federal and state funds received in Edgar County for local road and bridge maintenance and construction improvements, be it hereby resolved that the Edgar County engineer shall report, seek guidance from, and make recommendations to the Road and Bridge Committee and the Motor Fuel Tax Committee, both of which are standing committees of the Edgar County Board.
Any questions or comments on that?
So what does this actually mean? Does this mean that Aaron will come to me or Ben and explain the project and we bring it to the board?
It didn't say chairman. I thought it was.
Committee.
I thought it was going to be
There
chairman.
would be the Road and Bridge Committee and the Motor Fuel Tax Committee. It says not chairman of them.
Is there anybody on here that's not a member of at least one of those committees?
Chris Patrick.
One of the board members.
See what problem is it?
No, Carl wasn't, but I think they put him on that.
Oh, he's been in one? I didn't know that happened. When did that happen? That's brand new to me.
I don't know that it,
Oh, I thought we,
I don't know. That's,
That'll be reported to you at the study session. Any other comments or questions?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Carl, second.
I'll second.
Second by Alan. Roll call.
Janice?
Yes.
Voigt?
yes.
Zuber?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Farnum?
Yes.
Helsley?
Yes.
I move we adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Board, second by Mr. Bruce. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you.